Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today I'm going to be counting down the top 10 greatest classic rock live albums of all time. I guess it's worth mentioning, by the way, that I won't be including Kiss Alive or Kiss Alive 2 on this list because those are not real live albums, right? It's been, confirmed by the band over the years. The only thing real about those records were Peter Criss's drum tracks, so I know, majority of live albums probably get tampered with in some way in the studio, but perhaps none more blatant than the two Kiss Alive records, so for that reason I won't be including them here on the list, and that's coming from a Kiss fan. I enjoy them, but I recognize that, for the most part, they're not real live albums, so I didn't want to include them here with the rest of this countdown. This is a sequel video to one I did a few months ago on the channel, counting down the best heavy metal live albums, which you can see that list right over here. That way there are no repeats on this list, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts on these albums, definitely go and check out that video. I'll leave it linked down in the comment section below, but today focusing on classic rock, and that said, let's get started with my number 10. Coming in at number 10 here, I'm going to go with Rock and Roll Circus by the Rolling Stones. Bit of an unconventional pick that I don't think a lot of people would put in their top 10, but for me, I really enjoy it. I think it's something a little bit unorthodox of the Stones, right? A bit of a unique way for them to promote their newest album at the time, Beggar's Banquet, right? Of course, this live album is recordings of their ill-fated 1968 TV special, which wasn't broadcast until almost 3 decades later, but I really dig this live recording here, right? You got some great guest appearances here from the likes of Jethro Tull, The Who, right? Marianne Faithfull, John Lennon as well, with a great version of Your Blues with the Dirty Mac, which is just fantastic, and then also a great set by the Rolling Stones, which features, in my opinion, the best version of Sympathy for the Devil. Just really great stuff here by the Stones during their live portion of the set here, so for me, I really dig it, even though I recognize that a lot of people probably wouldn't have this in their top 10. I had to put Rock and Roll Circus on the list somewhere, so that said, coming in at number 10, starting us off here, let's go with Rock and Roll Circus by the Rolling Stones. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Bon Scott era of ACDC, so it should come as no surprise that my number 9 here is going to be If You Want Blood, You've Got It. Fantastic live record here by ACDC during the Bon era. I mean, just everything you could possibly love here about 70s ACDC all in one live album. Of course, incredible playing by Angus Young, one of the best guitarists of all time, in my opinion. Bon Scott, fantastic frontman, great vocalist as well. You're looking at the track listing here, great versions of classic tracks like Riff Raff, Hell in a Bad Place to Be, Bad Boy Boogie, The Jack, Problem Child, Whole Lotta Rosie, Rock and Roll Damnation, fantastic deep cut from Power Age, got High Voltage on here, Let There Be Rock and Rocker to close things out. Produced by Vanda and Young, just a great live record in my opinion, and, maybe a bit underrated in the AC/DC catalog, I'm not really sure, but, when it comes to, their entire history, I really enjoy the Bond stuff, a bit more than the Brian Johnson era, although I was contemplating putting Live at River Plate on this list, just because it has an even bigger set list, and the crowd is just on fire for it, but ultimately I'm limiting myself to one pick per band here, and for me, I mean, just doesn't get any better here than If You Want Blood, You've Got It. Incredible stuff here by AC/DC in their prime in the 70s with Bond, just great work. Following that up here with my number 8, I'm going to go with Double Live Gonzo by Ted Nugent, released in 1978. It's a double LP here, released 1 year after the release of Cat Scratch Fever. Another incredible live album here. Of course, you have Ted Nugent on lead guitar, does a killer job in my opinion, and just a great collection here of really awesome live performances of some of his greatest hits and best material, like Stranglehold, like Cat Scratch Fever, Motor City Madhouse, just to name a few. It's an awesome all-time classic live record, and I'd be remiss not to include it here on this list, so that said, coming in at number 8, I have to go with Double Live Gonzo by Ted Nugent, released in 1978. Breaking out the vinyl here for my number 7, let's go with Rainbow on Stage, released in 1977. Of course, this during the golden period for the band, where you had Ronnie James Dio on lead vocals, and of course, Dio, one of the all-time best rock and metal vocalists, and Ritchie Blackmore does incredible work here as well on guitar, great musicianship and instrumentation as well. Killer setlist, Kill the King, Men on Silver Mountain, right, Starstruck, Catch the Rainbow, Mistreated, great Deep Purple song here with Dio on lead vocals is really cool, kind of a gem. 16th Century Greensleeves and Still I'm Sad, awesome work, and of course the lineup here was fantastic. My favorite lineup of Rainbow, right, Ryan James Dio on lead vocals, Ritchie Blackmore on guitars, got Cozy Powell on the drums, also here Tony Carey on keyboards and Jimmy Bain on the bass, all produced by Martin Birch. It's just one of the best things Rainbow ever released in my opinion, and definitely does represent, in my opinion, their best time period, even though, after Dio left the band, they would do some solid work, in particular with Joe Lynn Turner on lead vocals. I think it really doesn't get much better than this in the Rainbow catalog. Gotta go with On Stage here from 1977, coming in at number 7 here on the list. Next at number 6, let's go with Wings Over America by Wings, recorded on the Wings Over the World tour. This during the American leg from 1975 to 1976, and I mean, for me, this is just peak post-Beatles Paul McCartney here. An incredible vocal performance on a lot of these tracks. What I really enjoy is the fact that it's a great mix of Wings material as well as Beatles material, so looking at the track listing here, obviously, Rock Show, Jet, Venus and Mars, Let Me Roll It, right, Medicine Jar, Maybe I'm Amazed, Call Me Back Again, Lady Madonna, The Long and Winding Road, great version, right, Live and Let Die, right, you have Bluebird, I've Just Seen a Face, Blackbird, Yesterday, probably the best version of Maybe I'm Amazed, by the way. Just fantastic stuff here. Great vocals. Very raw by Paul McCartney. Part 2 here, you have Go Now, Listen to What the Man Said, Let Him In, Beware My Love, Letting Go, Band on the Run. I mean, just so many great songs on here. It's just one classic, one great song after another, in my opinion. And again, the set list is a great selection of, Beatles and post-Beatles material. So for that, I absolutely love Wings Over America and had to put it here at number 6. Great work by Paul McCartney and company in Wings. Just killer stuff. Breaking into the top 5 now with Live and Dangerous by Thin Lizzy. And, I don't want there to be a double standard here. I had mentioned that I wasn't including Kiss Alive here on this countdown because it was completely redone in the studio, and obviously this is a record that there's been a lot of rumors and claims that there was a lot of overdubbing done in the studio post-recording, right? But according to manager Chris O'Donnell, it's 75% live with just some cleaning up in the studio of, guitar solos and backing vocals, which, to be honest, is to be expected with a lot of live albums, whereas, with Kiss Alive 1 and 2, all 4 members of the band, everybody has claimed that it's been, just about entirely fake, except for Peter Criss's drums, which is why I'm including this on the list and not Kiss Alive 1 and 2, but that said, I mean, just an incredible recording here by the band, some of their best work, in my opinion, with a great set list, some awesome performances of tracks like Jailbreak, Emerald, right, Southbound, Dancing in the Moonlight, Massacre. In my opinion, some of the best work Thin Lizzy ever did, and a great representation of their live show as well. So for me, I gotta go with Prime Thin Lizzy here to kick us off in the top 5 with Live and Dangerous. Next to number 4, let's go with Exit Stage Left. Great double live album here by Rush. Part of it was recorded on the Permanent Waves tour, and then part of it on the Moving Pictures tour. You can see my vinyl of Moving Pictures behind me here. Fantastic live record, of course, right? Rush were an incredible live band, and this definitely does represent that to the fullest extent, with an incredible set list here, right? That Spirit of the Radio, YYZ with an incredible drum solo here by Neil Peart. I'm really not going to, get into a back and forth with anybody in the comments over how to pronounce the guy's name. We all know he's an incredible drummer. Let's just leave it at that, right? Also on here, you have A Passage to Bangkok, Closer to the Heart, Jacob's Ladder, Tom Sawyer, Free Will. I mean, so many great classic tracks here being performed live to, really great musicianship here by the band. So for me, I had to put it in the top 5. Coming in at number 4, got to go with Exit Stage Left by Prime Rush here, just, on the roll of a career in between 2 great albums with a fantastic live record. Top 3 now, and for my number 3, I'm going to go with Live at Leeds by The Who. I mean, this is an album that could easily be my number 1, which goes to show how strong I think my top 3 is, and Live at Leeds, widely regarded by many to be the greatest live album of all time, especially in rock. Of course, here The Who, absolutely in their prime. I do believe this is the only live album released by The Who, with that classic lineup of Roger Daltrey, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, and Pete Townsend, while they were an active recording band as the 4 of them, which is an interesting tidbit of information there. But I mean, looking at the set list here, Heaven and Hell, I Can't Explain, Tattoo, Young Man Blues, Substitute, Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, right, Amazing Journey, Sparks, Summertime Blues, My Generation, Magic Bus. Every song on here is an absolute banger, an incredible live in my opinion, and just shows the musicianship and the level of instrumentation that the band were incorporating into their live sets at the time that were pretty untouchable by pretty much every other band around this time period, right? This, of course, was the follow-up to Tommy, and a great follow-up to Tommy as well, in my opinion, right? Got some great live renditions of tracks from that record, among other classic Who albums on here. So for me, I have to put it in the top 3, but, there's definitely a little bit of wiggle room in my list. So if you ask me again next week, it could be number 2 or even number 1, because Live at Leeds is just so fantastic. It's going to kick us off in the top 3 here today. Next to number 2, we have another album here that could make a legitimate claim for being the greatest live album ever. That's Cheap Trick at Budokan from 1978. Now, Cheap Trick, obviously a great rock band, but they had only enjoyed mild success up to this point, but this would be the album that really kickstarted their road to superstardom, and there's no surprise why. It's an incredible live performance here with just, some of their all-time best hits, right? I really enjoy renditions here of Surrender, I Want You to Want Me, right? Need Your Love, Southern Girls, California Man, Good Night, Ain't That a Shame, right? Just so many awesome songs on here. Come on, Hello There, Speak Now or Forever, Hold Your Peace. I mean, when it comes to Cheap Trick, there's just an endless, amount of great songs, but this live album does a great job of capturing a lot of their best material up to this point, and so for that reason, I absolutely love this live album. One of the most important live recordings of all time as well, and they would return to Budokan for Live at Budokan 2, which is not as strong, but still a very good live album as well, but the original here is fantastic. Cheap Trick at Budokan, like I said, super important, innovative, and really did help to kickstart their superstardom in Cheap Trick. Just great stuff. So for me, it's my number 2 on the list. Before I get to my number 1, I do have a list of some very competitive honorable mentions here that I wanted to put in the top 10, but at the end of the day, you can only fit 10 here on the list. So special recognition to MTV Unplugged by Nirvana, Peter Frampton Comes Alive, How the West Was Won by Led Zeppelin, Pulse by Pink Floyd, and Jimmy Plays Monterey by Jimi Hendrix. So, all of those definitely do have a legitimate claim to be in the top 10, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would probably have at least some of these in your top 10 personally, and for me, I really do enjoy all of these and think highly of all of them, but I can only fit 10 on the list here today, and that's the challenge with making a top 10 with, such a wide array of great live albums out there. And finally, coming in at number 1, in my opinion, the best rock live album of all time is absolutely Live by The Doors. Everything that I love about The Doors is encapsulated perfectly here on this live recording right now. When it comes to The Doors live set with Jim Morrison, you're either going to get the best show you've ever seen or the worst, depending on the condition that Morrison was in at the time. And, I think here you have Jim Morrison, who is at his best, right, and most enigmatic, right, somebody who could change the course of the live set, just erratically based on, how he was feeling. But, with this classic lineup here of Morrison, Densmore, right, also on here you have Krieger and Manzarek. So with the 4 of them together in this live recording, it's just incredible, and just so many awesome tracks on here, like Who Do You Love? We got a great medley of Alabama Song, Backdoor Mad, Love Hides, and 5 to 1. Of course, you have Celebration of the Lizard, a live staple, and Soul Kitchen as well. Close to You, Break On Through to the Other Side, Universal Mind. Every song on here is fantastic, and this is The Doors at the top of their game, in my opinion, in a live setting. So for me, it's everything I love about The Doors, and they can only be number 1 here on the list. In my opinion, the best rock live album of all time has to be absolutely Live by The Doors. So that wraps up my list, counting down my top 10 favorite classic rock live albums of all time, which should be visible right over here. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload, and let me know down in the comment section below what are your thoughts on my countdown, and what are your favorite classic rock live albums of all time. I want to hear from you. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.